What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex. In this video, I'm going to be previewing Luigi's Mansion 3. Now, Luigi's Mansion 3 releases on October 31st exclusively on Nintendo Switch. So this is just the next game in what I've called a couple times on this channel. Really, 2019 has been the year of Nintendo, and we've talked a lot about that with games even just over the summer. Games like Fire Emblem and Marvel Ultimate Alliance, and now we get a game like Luigi's Mansion. Very, very awesome. Now, I'm a sucker. I'm truly a sucker for games that are in a genre and release at the prime time for when they should release. And a game basically about hunting ghosts, right? Releasing on Halloween is about as perfect as you can honestly get. This game, I'll come out and just truly say it, I don't think this is a game for me. I don't think this is a game franchise that I've ever loved or really ever known even existed all that much. It's a sequel to a game that came out 6 years ago. I get it. I get the hype. I get the enthusiasm. We've had people on the channel, even during live streams, people we talk to quite often on the channel, they've even said they're pumped for this game. They're very much looking forward to it. And that's awesome. And I totally see. Here's the first thing. The game looks phenomenal. The game looks absolutely beautiful. I love the lighting. I love the different environments. I love visually, the game knocks it out of the park. With the game, with so many different themes that they're going to be doing, each floor of this mansion has a different theme to it, and will have different enemies, have different things to do. There's online mode. Now, here's the deal with the online mode. I'm a fan of adding multiplayer components to games when it makes sense. I like playing things in lobbies with people online. I like playing things with friends, all that kind of good stuff. So it's not a bad thing that there's an online mode where you with up to eight people in general, basically compete against each other and can play with each other. That's really awesome. That's totally cool. At the same time, every online game that has ever come to Nintendo, you really just have to, you have that optimism and you just have to chuck it out the window, because for as much as I love Nintendo, and I do, I'm primarily a PlayStation gamer, but I truly do love the Nintendo Switch. I love everything they've done with it. I think it's a phenomenal console, and they make, I love the Sony exclusives, but Nintendo has just such a huge batch of just some truly terrific and very, very different. That's the thing. Fire Emblem Three Houses, I was so pumped for that game. And I don't think if you got Fire Emblem, you're getting Luigi's Mansion. I think if you're getting Luigi's Mansion, you probably didn't get Fire Emblem. But maybe you got Marvel Ultimate Alliance. Or maybe you got, who knows, there's so many games, especially just this year, that have come out on the Switch that there's really a game for everybody. But for the multiplayer, you really, again, all optimism, I just throw it out the window, because they've never really been able to figure out multiplayer. We know that they messed up the Super Mario Maker 2, which is another game that came out this year that did so phenomenal. And that's another one, just such a different kind of game from all the rest. But you look at that game, and you look at really a lot of the multiplayer, even like Splatoon. Splatoon probably did multiplayer around the best that Nintendo has ever done, but really, Nintendo somehow always messes up their multiplayer modes, whether it's not letting you play with your friends or locking certain things out. They just make some mistakes. So the multiplayer thing is kind of negligible. I really don't care about the multiplayer mode all that much, because I don't know if it's going to be all that amazing. But in terms of the base game, it looks very, very solid. Again, it's not a game for me. The timing's tough, because again, sucker. October 31st, Halloween, a horror, quote unquote. And that's another thing, is it's not a horror game, right? It's like a Ghostbusters game, but with Luigi. That's just so cool. That idea is just so amazing, and it's not a scary game. It really is a game for all ages, and that's really who has a Switch. It's not just adults that have Switches, it's all ages. And while I love horror games, and I love horror games coming out around Halloween time, you're not going to have many 10-year-olds playing, Outlast 3 if it comes out, say, next Halloween. You're not going to have that many young kids playing those games, right? You're going to have older people playing it, or not older, but people in their teens, in their late teens, in their early 20s, just a ton of different age groups, but not necessarily young people. Luigi's Mansion, I could truly see being a game for absolutely anybody, but the main downfall, and I do like to talk about this for all game previews, is sales and what it's going up against. Now, again, I think Nintendo has this year locked, and I think that going into especially Black Friday with Pokemon Sword and Shield, Nintendo is going to destroy the other consoles. I'm a PlayStation fan, but You look at Pokemon, and you look at if they bundle that with the Switch, even with the Switch Lite, and you have those things for Black Friday, it's going to destroy everything else. Luigi's Mansion, though, is coming out just 2 weeks before then. The week after Luigi's Mansion is Death Stranding, is Need for Speed Heat, and we're into November now. And then 2 weeks after is Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. It's Pokemon. The week after that is Shenmue 3 and Doom Eternal. So there's like 2 games every single week. And even Luigi's Mansion, just a few days before then, on the 25th, is The Outer Worlds and Call of Duty. Now, the good thing, and what I do, I mean, this is the best part of gaming, and it's what honestly makes me so happy, is while I did just list off like 12 games, they're all actually very different. You can't really say all that many of those games are like the other. Even if you say Call of Duty and Doom, because they're both shooters, even those 2 games are very, very different from each other. But Luigi's Mansion is very different than Call of Duty, very different than The Outer Worlds, very different than Death Stranding, Pokemon, Star Wars, Doom, they're all different, which is so great. At the same time, people only have so much money. And while I love the placement of Luigi's Mansion, I think it's really smart being on Halloween, at the same time, I feel like it could have done better a few weeks earlier. Because here's the deal. While, those other games are out there, the biggest game that's going to affect Luigi's Mansion is Pokemon, because they're both Nintendo exclusives. And they're coming out 2 weeks apart. 2 weeks apart. And Pokemon Sword and Shield is going to sell like 10 to 15 million copies. I believe that. It's going to do absolutely insane. It's going to sell a couple million Switch units just on its own. So, like, Pokemon's going to be everywhere, and it's going to be the main talk. So for a game like Luigi's Mansion, it's all about expectations. Does Nintendo really expect it to do all that amazing? Probably not. Is it going to do as amazing as Super Mario Maker 2? No. Is it going to do as amazing as Pokemon or Smash Bros. Ultimate? No. It's for a different group. It's just going to do smaller. I don't know how Fire Emblem did. I know it did very, very good overseas. Will it do better than Fire Emblem? Maybe. Marvel Ultimate Alliance, I actually don't know how well that did as well. Could it do just as well as that? Possibly. So there's a lot of things to look at. It is just a little, I look at PlayStation games a lot, and I say, okay, I really want these games spaced out. You look at Death Stranding to say The Last of Us Part 2, there's a huge spacing there. You look at from The Last of Us Part 2 to whenever Ghost of Tsushima comes out, there's going to be some spacing there. So they space their games out, I believe, for the most part. PlayStation and Sony does it pretty darn well. Nintendo, I think they do it well. It's just that this year they've had so many that even, again, you go back to July, you had Super Mario Maker, Fire Emblem, and Marvel Ultimate Alliance. You had them all come out within 4 weeks of each other from the first to last game. You had 3 games come out in like 4 to 5 weeks. And I don't know, maybe Mario Maker hurt the other 2 that much because it came out first, or maybe there weren't a lot of people that were going to get Fire Emblem because they got the first 2. So, they've just had so many exclusives that it's been hard to kind of properly place them where they should be. I think Luigi's Mansion looks good. I think it's a game that's not necessarily for me. That's totally cool. I respect it. I think it looks phenomenal visually. I mean, it's out of this. Nintendo games, a lot of them just look super darn good. I think Luigi's Mansion looks great. Gameplay, I feel like it's going to be a little repetitive. That's just my opinion from watching some gameplay of it. I think, when people actually play it, that I mean, they'll obviously be able to say their own opinions of it. But I think if there is a weak part to this game, it'll be the gameplay. I feel like maybe it'll just get boring. Multiplayer, we'll see if it actually works. And sales-wise, we'll see what it can actually do. I'll be interested because I think it'll do well initially. But then when Pokemon comes out, like, if you have the choice between Pokemon and Luigi's Mansion, are you getting Luigi's Mansion? Can you afford both? And I'm not saying like people are poor, but like you only have so much money, and chances are if you have a Switch, you also have a different console. And all of the games I listed aren't coming to the Switch. So if you have a PlayStation, maybe you also want The Outer Worlds and Star Wars, or maybe you want Call of Duty and Doom, or maybe you want Death Stranding and Star Wars, or you're getting Death Stranding and Pokemon because you have a Switch and you have a PS4. So like there's lots of combinations. Money, you only have so much money. So we'll see how Luigi's Mansion does. But guys, let me know in the comments below. What are you thinking about this game? Are you excited for it? Are you going to be getting it? Are you going to be waiting for it? Maybe you're waiting for like a Black Friday deal. Let me know. Make sure you guys subscribe to our YouTube channel Podcast Now. Hit that bell icon so you guys know when these videos go up. And thank you as always for watching. And I hope to see you all on the next game preview.